Antes todo lo que hagan, no buscan. Entonces no, no. Entonces. Aquí no me van, no te van a ir. Y de ya. Y te van a ir.
O no va a un kilo por un roba de ahora.
Todo.
Karen ni bana. Yo voy a empezar con una vez de Karen. Ahora fuera tú que era con un domingo acá aquí. No.
No tengo ya que.
I had requested
No como.
that you increase
El que niña guata.
Ahora me voy a dar el cari. No hagamos que ya acaban ganar de todo entonces. La de carajo que le pueden más me que es la raíz.
is at the discretion.
No me entera.
As to where you speak from, I'll allow you to go to the dispatch box and speak from there, no big deal. As to the amount of time available to you, sure you frame the motion you knew that you have 20 minutes to prosecute it. You stick to your time as passed by the House at the beginning of the session. And in the event you require any extension, the chair will give it you or respond to your request when you time is spent. But you certainly do not have 1 hour. Secondly, honorable members, I will have allocated 3 hours to this motion from now to 1 o'clock. At about 10 minutes to 12:30, sorry, I'll call the mover to reply and allocate another 20 or 30 minutes for the vote. The clerk had sent you a message that each one of you must have your card for electronic voting, which is more efficient and time saving. But in the event many of you may not have your cards or the malfunctioning of equipment, then we'll do a roll call vote. And that will be probably 20-30 minutes. So the actual debate should be determined by 12:30. Member for Bumula, now you may proceed to move your motion.
Don't put your ones. We are not the fools. We are not the fools.
From the office of the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development of the One, gross violation of the Constitution. A.
You start by saying, I beg to move the following motion. Then you read the motion as it appears on the order paper. Then you now elucidate your argument.
Come on, I need you to give me a hand.
Thank you. I
I know what I'm saying.
the person to the provision
My wife doesn't want to do
Constitution. This House resolves that
Nyanto ba ige au no dere
from the office of
like it. I'm
the
going to
Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development of the Foreign Lands. One, gross violation of the Constitution. A. Violation of Article 2 and 10, 1C of the Constitution. That Honorable Franklin Mithika Linturi, acting as the Cabinet Secretary responsible for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, appears to have committed gross violation of these constitutional provisions by one, not undertaking public participation in stakeholders who even departments in the Ministry in the implementation of far-reaching policies, procurement and distribution, fertilizer, violating the provision of the Constitution, national values and principles of good governance in insofar as acted as a state policy to amend and implement a public policy to approve the procurement and distribution of fertilizer, contrary to recommendations of the National Cereals and Produce Board and agency, and two, by approving procurement and distribution of fertilizer by the National Cereals and Produce Board discloses a gross violation of national values and principles of good governance insofar as he acted as a state officer to make and implement a public policy to approve the procurement and distribution of fertilizer contrary to Article 10, 1B of the Constitution. Gross violation of Article 6 that one Franklin Mikakalituri, acting in his role as the Cabinet Secretary responsible for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, appears to be in gross violation of this constitutional provision by one, infringing on consumers' rights to goods and services of reasonable quality and to the protection of their health, safety, and economic interests by approving the procurement and distribution of fertilizer, and two, approving the budget for procurement and distribution of fertilizer by the National Cereals and Produce Board, thereby violating consumers' rights to goods and services of reasonable quality and to the protection of their health, safety, and economic interests as he approved the procurement and distribution of fertilizer contrary to Article 46 of the Constitution. C. Gross violation of Article 73 of the Constitution. That the conduct of one Honorable Franklin Mikakalituri, acting in his role as a Cabinet Secretary responsible for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, appears to be a gross violation of this constitutional provision insofar as the public trust was exercised in a manner that is inconsistent with the purposes and objects of the Constitution. He failed to demonstrate respect for the people, failed to bring honor to the nation, dignity to the office, and failed to promote public confidence in the integrity of the office contrary to Article 73(1)(a), 1, 2, 3, and 4. D. Gross violation of Article 201 that one Honorable Franklin Mikakalituri, acting in his role as the Cabinet Secretary responsible for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, appears to have committed a gross violation of this constitutional provision by approving and procurement and distribution of fertilizer by the National Cereals and this amounts to a gross violation of public finance insofar as public money is concerned, and that public money was not applied in a prudent and responsible way when he approved the procurement and distribution of fertilizer contrary to Article 201 D of the Constitution. Gross violation of Article 232 that the Honorable Franklin Mikakalituri, the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development, appears to have committed a gross violation of this constitution, where he outlined as an written submission as a response to the fertilizer subsidy program to the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock, misleading information that the National Cereals and Produce Board (NCB) signed an agency agreement with 51 Capital Africa Diatomite Industries on 31st March 2022 for supply and distribution of seed, diatomite, diatomaceous for its commercial purpose, and that the product was not sold as a chemical fertilizer but as a soil conditioner, violating the values and principles of the public service duty. Public service duty to use resources efficiently, effectively, and economically, contrary to Article 232 of the Constitution. Serious reasons for believing that Cabinet Secretary has committed, that is number 2, ground number 2. Serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet has committed a crime under national serious reasons for believing the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under Section 100 and 101 of the Penal Code, Cap 63. That while Franklin Mythically, acting in his role as the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, issued a directive to officials of chemicals to attend a press conference and issue a statement from the National Cereals and Produce Board. His subsequent closure of the factory and declaration of it as a crime scene due to the company's refusal to participate in the staged press conference discloses grounds that there are serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law, including but not limited to the offences involving abuse of office and false claim by a person employed in the public service contract section 100 and 101 the Penal Code. Serious reasons for believing the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under section 353 that one Honorable Franklin Mythically, the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, is currently under investigations by the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Director of Criminal Investigation, and is facing arrest, charging, prosecution, and institution of criminal proceedings in relation to 6 pending civil, commercial, and family suits. This discloses grounds that there are serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law, including but not limited to offences involving uttering false documents, securing execution of documents by false pretenses, contrary to sections 353 and 355 of the Penal Code, Cap 60. Number 3, ground number 3, gross misconduct. That one, Honorable Franklin Mythically, acting in his role as the Cabinet Secretary responsible for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, by approving procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by National Cereals and Produce Board, insofar as being as an officer. One, has failed to exercise public trust in the best interest of the people of Kenya, and this amounts to gross misconduct contrary to section 8 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. 2, has failed in the performance of his duties to the best of his ability to carry out the duties of the office efficiently and honestly, and to carry out the duties of a transparent and accountable manner. And these amounts to gross misconduct contrary to section 10A and B of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. 3, has failed to demonstrate professionalism in carrying out the duties of the office in a manner that maintains public confidence in the integrity of the office, and these amounts to gross misconduct contrary to section 11A of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. Number 4, Honorable Speaker, that he misled the public by submitting false information to advertise Assembly that GPC diatomaceous was distributed as a soil conditioner and not as fertilizer, and this amounts to gross misconduct, contrary to Section 29
I'm stinking meat.
Act.
You are stinking.
I'm stinking meat.
You may omit to read the names of those who signed the motion since you gave them to the House. You gave notice.
As long as
I will be relying on evidence marked as Annexure 1A. That is a letter
120.
from Ahmed Nasir to DCI, Criminal Investigations. A letter which was produced in the cabinet of this House, Mr. Speaker. That is Annexure 1. My Annexure B, Honorable Speaker, I'll be referring to a document from Kenya Bureau of Standards, a document submitted by the Managing Director of Bureau of Standards to the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock. Honorable Speaker, I'll be referring to a document, Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development Response on Fertilizer Subsidy Program. Secretary submitted to the committee on March 24th, Annex C.
So the
Honorable Speaker, I'll be referring to a document marked Annex D, National Cereals and Produce Board, where it entered into a merger aimed at lowering fertilizer prices. Honorable Speaker, I'll be referring to a document from the courts by, as Annexure E of Honorable Franklin Linturis, first petitioner, Emily Korate Watai, second petitioner, Articon Limited, third petitioner, versus Director of Public Prosecution and others. Honorable Speaker, as Annexure E. Honorable Speaker, I'll be referring to a press statement from by Law Society of Kenya as Annexure F.
Teva.
Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you sincerely for redefining the dignity of this House as an oversight body comprising people's representatives. When all other bodies, systems do not work, the Kenyan citizenry relies on this House. And Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I want to make it clear that this is not a one-party motion. That this motion is indeed about the Kenyan people. Honorable Speaker. It is not a UDA motion. It is not an ODM motion. It is not Azimio motion, Honorable Speaker. And it is not Kenya Kwanza motion. This motion is about the people of Kenya versus one mythical Linturis. Honorable Speaker, it is not a motion against the people of the Meru community. We have many Meru people from the Meru community who are very good, Honorable Speaker. And some of them are seated in this House. This is a motion that seeks, Honorable Speaker, to assist Kenyan farmers who are now not going to harvest because of bad prices. This is a motion that is going to wipe the tears of Kenyan farmers who are now disjointed and now do not know what happens, Honorable Speaker. That this minister, Honorable Speaker, because of time, and I'm sure all these documents have been circulated to members, I'll just be going briefly on these issues. That, Honorable Speaker, I take you to the ground number 2. Honorable Speaker, serious reasons for believing that the Secretary has committed a crime under national law. Mr. Speaker, on the ground of serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under this law, I wish to submit as follows. That the conduct of one Franklin Mithika, acting in his role as the Cabinet Secretary responsible for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, contained in the contents of a letter dated 19 April 2024 by Ahmed Nasir, Senior Counsel, addressed to Mr. Amin Mohammed Ibrahim, the Director of Investigations, titled Manufacture and Distribution of Fertilizer, submitting that Mr. Linturis, the Cabinet Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, on mobile number 0722 218 000, made calls to Mr. Devesh of Kales Chemicals on 10 April at around 9 a.m. directing him to attend a press conference at Jacaranda Hotel and confirmed that the need for him to use statements as shared with him by Mr. Imote of the National Cereals and Produce Board by the press conference, and his subsequent issuance of orders closing the factory and declaring a crime scene against the law, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Devesh of Kales Chemicals' refusal to participate in the state press conference discloses grounds that there are serious crimes in believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law, including but not limited to the offences listed under Chapter 6 against abuse of office involving offences against abuse of false claims by a person employed in the public service, contrary to Section 100 and 101 of the Penal Act, Cap 63 of the laws of the state. Attached is a letter dated 19th from Ahmed Nasir. Honorable Speaker, I want to draw the attention of this members of this honorable house that a minister went and committed a crime. A minister authorized distribution of fertilizer, of fake fertilizer, Honorable Speaker, as it was presented to the Committee of Agriculture. But when things started going south, Honorable Speaker, this minister went and looked for Kales company to take responsibility. This minister ordered the CEO of NCPB, National Cereals and Produce Board, to go and write a press statement, to go and admit liability so that he can save the minister. Honorable Speaker, that is wrong. It depicts a picture of a person who is not fit to serve. If Honorable Linturis in this matter was clear in his mind that he is clean, that he has not done any wrongdoing, why did he go and prepare a press conference, a press release through CEO of National Cereals and Produce Board to force, Honorable Speaker, to try and force innocent to admit liability on his behalf? It paints a picture of a wrong public servant who is not fit to be anywhere in service of the people of Kenya. That in paragraph 2 of the letter, Ahmed Nasir is a senior counsel. This was submitted to the Committee of Agriculture in this house. Therefore, these materials become part and parcel of the properties of this house. That in paragraph 2, Ahmed Nasir, senior counsel, indicates that he writes the letter on behalf of his client, Chemicals Limited, to set out the factual circumstances surrounding the distribution of the alleged substandard fertilizer. Mr. Speaker, I have tabled already the letter, Annex 1, and invite the House to direct its attention to paragraph 2 of the letter. Honorable Speaker, and I read, Further to the foregoing, we feel inclined to suggest that as you assess individual responsibility, in the light of an overall evaluation of complicity, the conduct and involvement of one Mr. Franklin Mythically, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, and Mr. Joseph Kimote, the Managing Director, National Cereals and Produce Board, should be scrutinized. Our clients informed us of the attempts by the two public officers to distort the correct account of what transpired and to present a counter-narrative whose end was to incriminate our client through intimidation and threats, and to absolve other parties that had been adversely mentioned in the scandal. This occurred on the following days. On 4th of April 2024, Mr. Davesh Patel, the Chief Operating Officer of our client, received a call from Mr. Kimote at around 9:45 a.m. from mobile number 0721 696 127, informing him of the need to prepare a letter to MEMS following the press release by NCPB recalling 3,000 bags of fertilizer manufactured on 5th March 2024 and of batch numbers as indicated, Mr. Speaker. Further, Mrs. Lorraine Karan of National Cereals and Produce Board from mobile number 0722 310 564 at around 11:30 a.m. asking him to report to NCPB headquarters at around 3:30 p.m. He later received a call from Collins Getich at around 11 on the mobile. Mr. Speaker, what comes out is that a minister who has committed a crime, but a minister who is hell-bent to try and involve other people who are not part of this. And that is why we are saying the Minister for Agriculture is not fit, Honorable Speaker. A crime in our constitution. I will move, Honorable Speaker, that in paragraph 3 of the letter, Mr. Ahmed Nasir suggests that the Director of Criminal Investigations assesses individual responsibility in light of an overall evaluation of complicity, the conduct and involvement of Franklin Linturis, the Cabinet Secretary of Agriculture, Livestock, and Joseph Kimote, the Managing Director, National Cereals. Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Amboka, you have about 2 minutes to go. I will exercise my discretion and give you an additional 5 minutes.
Honorable Speaker, it is very clear, and I want members to read. It's very clear that the minister planned and there was an intention for Honorable Franklin to commit a crime. Honorable Speaker, he went ahead and tried to cover up his crime. In law, there is nowhere that the minister has any mandate to go and close a factory. That is not part of the mandate assigned to the minister for agriculture. We can see a wrong minister going to Kel's industry, Honorable Speaker, trying to close down the factory. Honorable Speaker, all this leads to a cover-up by Honorable Linturis, and that is why I'm asking members of this House, members of goodwill, representatives, that we find it fit that the President dismisses Honorable Linturis from office because, Honorable Speaker, the net effect of what Linturis is that we are not going to support. We support good intentions by His Excellency President William Ruto to ensure that Kenya is safe in in terms of food, to ensure that Kenya has food that we can even export to our sister countries. But we have a president, we have a minister who cannot implement the vision of his appointing authority. Honorable Speaker, this House should find it necessary that we recommend to the President that Mithika Linturi must vacate office. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Mithika Linturi has so many cases, some of them active, as I've indicated and as I've tabled in the annexes here, Honorable Speaker, that the minister has no time to concentrate on his work, Honorable Minister. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Minister moves from court to court. This is a person who is not fit under Chapter 6 of any office. Even a junior office of a messenger. I want us to regain the integrity of this House, Honorable Members. I want us, this House, to go back to those days when Parliament was Parliament. When Parliament was for the people, by the people. Honorable Speaker, I will be seeking members of this House to support that we send Honorable Mithika Linturi home so that the farmers in the counties of Bungoma, the farmers in the counties of Trans Nzoia, Nandi, the farmers in Meru, the farmers in Kiambu, Honorable Speaker, the farmers everywhere in this country that can have reprieve, Honorable Speaker, I will be relying heavily on the goodwill of this House. Honorable Speaker, I leave it to the House. It is a moral question. It is not a political question. I can look straight in the eyes of these members. And I would want to tell you, this is not about party lines. It's not about being whipped. It is about standing with the Mwananchi. It is about standing with the Cherotich. It is about standing with the Nekesa. Honorable Speaker, it is about standing with Wamboi. It is about standing with the smallest of farmers who do not even afford money, but the only mistake they do is to trust government. That they trust a government agency. They trust National Cereals and Produce Board. They trust the President of the Republic of Kenya. They trust that government cannot give them a raw deal, Honorable Speaker. They go and purchase fertilizer from National Cereals and Produce Board, a national agency, a government agency. It turns out that they purchased sand, they purchased rocks. It is a moral question. I do not know how anyone in their sound mind can want to side with such a wrong minister. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Who is seconding your motion? You say, I beg to move, not to submit.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move. I would ask Honorable Sara was to second. To come and second.
Honorable Speaker, as the honorable member of Mula has said, I second this motion, and indeed, this is not just political. This is not just political. It is a moral issue. And I understand sometimes in this house we get to levels where we compete on political applications, but on this particular matter where the CS genuinely criminally involved in this particular issue of denying Kenyans their right, denying Kenyans their opportunity to produce, to ensure that a food the country, it is prudent and necessary that we take it as a moral issue so that we deal with it. We need to demonstrate to Kenyans that as a house, we can also stand with them. It is not political, this is a moral issue. I support. Thank you. Standing order 4 and 6. This house is all the violation of Articles 2 and 10, 1C of the The Honorable Franklin Mikakuri, acting as the Cabinet Secretary of Agriculture, appears to have violation by one, not undertaking public participation with leaders, stakeholders, or even departments within the ministry in so far as policy decisions on the procurement and distribution of fertilizer, therefore violating the provisions of the Constitution on national values and principles of good governance. Insofar as he acted as a state officer to make and implement a public policy to approve the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer, recommendations of the National Cereals and approving procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by the National Cereals and Produce Board discloses a gross violation of national values and principles of good governance insofar as acted as a state officer to make and implement a public policy to approve the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer contrary to Articles 10, 1, B, gross violation of Article 26 of the Constitution. At one, Franklin Mikakuri acting in his role as Cabinet Secretary responsible for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development appears to be in close violation of this constitutional provision by one, infringing on consumers' rights to goods and services of reasonable quality and the protection of their health, safety and economic interests by approving the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer, and two, approving the budgets for procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by the National Cereals and Produce Board, thereby violating consumers' rights to goods and services of reasonable quality and the protection of their health, safety and economic interests as he approves procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer for the Constitution. The conduct of one acting his role as the Cabinet Secretary responsible for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development appears to be a gross violation of this constitutional provision insofar as the public trust was exercised in a manner that is consistent with the purposes and objects of the Constitution. He failed to demonstrate the respect for the people, failed to bring honor to the nation, digging into the office, and failed to promote public confidence in the integrity of the office. Conduct Article 73, 1A, Roman 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the Constitution. Gross violation of Article 201 of the Constitution. That one, Franklin Mikakuri acting in his role as the Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock appears to have committed a gross violation of this constitutional provision by approving the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by the National Cereals and Produce Board. This amounts to a gross violation of the principles of public finance insofar as public money is concerned and that public money was not applied in a prudent and responsible way to approve the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer under Article 201B of the Constitution. gross violation of that the Honorable Franklin Michikali Cultural Life appears to have committed a gross violation of this constitution where he outlined supplies a subsidy program, Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock, misleading information that the National Cereals and Produce Board signed an agent agreement with 61 capital Africa for supply and distribution of diatomaceous for its commercial functions, and that the product was not sold as a chemical fertilizer but as a soil conditioner, violating the values of public service duty to use resource efficiently, effectively, and economically contrary to Article 232 of the Constitution. Two serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law. A. Serious reasons for believing the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under Section 100 and 101 of the Penal Code, Cap 63, that one Franklin Mythically acting in his role as the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development issued a directive of officials of Kales Chemicals to attend a press conference and issue a statement from the National Cereals and Produce Board. His subsequent closure of the factory and declaration of it as a crime scene due to the company's refusal to participate in the state press conference discloses grounds there are serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law, including but not limited to offences involving abuse of office and false claims by a person employed in public service, contrary to Section 100 and 101 of the Penal Code. The serious reasons for believing the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under Section 353 of the Penal Code that one Franklin Mythically the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development is currently under investigation by the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Director of Civil Investigations and is facing arrest, charging, prosecution and institution of criminal proceedings in relation to 6 pending civil, commercial and family suits. This discloses grounds that there are serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law, including but not offences involving handling false documents and procuring execution of documents by false offences, contrary to Section 63 and 55 of the Penal Code, Cap 63. 3. Gross misconduct. That one Franklin Mythically and his role as Cabinet Secretary responsible for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development by approving procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by the National Cereals and Produce Board, so far as being a state officer, 1. Has failed to exercise public trust in the best interest of the people of Kenya, and this amounts to gross misconduct contrary to Section 8 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. 2. Has failed in the performance of his duties in the best of his ability to carry out the duties of the office efficiently and honestly, and to carry out the duties in a transparent and accountable manner, and this amounts to gross misconduct under Sections 10A and B of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. 3. Has failed to demonstrate professionalism in carrying out duties of the office in a manner that maintains public confidence in the integrity of the office, and this amounts to gross misconduct under Section 11A of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. 4. Misled the public by submitting false information to a departmental committee of the National Assembly that GPC diatomaceous was distributed as a soil conditioner, not as a fertilizer, and this amounts to gross misconduct under Section 29 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. Members who signed the motion are 110 and the motion
These are like 5 years.
Baja kimtiri ndio. Kile kijamaa ndio.
Who has the point of order? Owen by. What's the point of order?
Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity to raise points of order. The matters that have been raised by Honorable Speaker. I would like to start point of order on standing order 89 of our standing order. Honorable Speaker, law motion that has been presented ably by the Honorable Walker. If you look at point 14 to 16, Honorable Speaker, I would invite you to look at page 14 and 16 of the motion. Page 14, 16 of the motion presented, Honorable Speaker, you realize that it is contrary to Standing Order 89. Honorable Speaker, if you look 14 to 16, a lot of the cases that are being referred to are active cases in court, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, the subsidies rule kicks in. And therefore, I would invite you, Honorable Speaker, to look at that and declare that that aspect that is being referred to as not admissible in this motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, again, if you move again on the motion, Honorable Speaker, and you look at Standing Order 90, Standing Order 90, Honorable Speaker, the motion extensively relies on matters that are of personal relation to the member who signs as number 15 on the list. On the list. Honorable Speaker, it declares as our standing order that the person, the member of parliament signing as number 15 should have, in this case, declared interest in this matter because the cases referred extensively refers to personal relations to the member. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I move that we amend the list, or you declare that the list presented to you, Honorable Speaker, be expunged totally, and therefore this motion falls on its face. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you allow me, Honorable Speaker, I would like to move an amendment to that, or you declare it as...
You stood on a point of order. Just prosecute your point of order.
I'm prosecuting my points of order, the Honorable Speaker, and I require that you make a ruling on my points of order. Honorable Speaker, under Standing Order 87, Honorable Speaker. Standing Order 87, 6. Except that the Speaker may otherwise allow, it shall be out of order for a member to refer to any extract from print or electronic media as an authority in a member's speech. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the motion as laid by my friend, the Honorable Komboka, and I will request that you make a ruling on this, Honorable Speaker. If you move from page 11, he refers to electronic. The whole thing is based on electronic print media. If you look at page 11, he refers to Citizen Digital. If you move again, he refers to nation.media. On page 12, on page 13, Honorable Speaker, he refers, and if you continue, Honorable Speaker, the whole motion is based on extracts from electronic and print media. Honorable Speaker, our standing order 6 does not allow that happens, and therefore this motion, Honorable Speaker, in the preliminary objection on this, Honorable Speaker, under our current standing order, cannot stand the presence of voice repeatable here. Honorable Speaker, I would Honorable Speaker, if I may, I want to pass the speakers here.
Yes, Owen.
Yes.
Can you finish your point?
I'm finishing on, I want to refer you again to Standing Order 87, Honorable Speaker. That some of the acts, Honorable Speaker, that are being alleged to have been committed by the Honorable Mithika Linturis refer to matters that were before he became a cabinet secretary. Matters which were dealt with conclusively at the point when this parliament vetted the Honorable Mithika Linturis. And therefore, our standing orders say that if you look at 87, Honorable Speaker, if a matter has been discussed and dispensed with during a session of Parliament, for which this session refers to, Honorable Speaker, it cannot again be referred to during the same session. And Honorable Speaker, the cases that are referred to here were dealt with. They happened before the cabinet secretary was appointed cabinet secretary. And again, these matters are being reintroduced in the House. Unless with your express permission, these matters can be introduced. But as it stands now, Honorable Speaker, the motion has presented and the request of judgment on ruling on this matter, Honorable Speaker, cannot stand to be discussed in this House.
Thank you, Owen Baya. Order, that point of order should not elicit a trajectory that is unrelated to the motion. On the question of sub judice, you have to demonstrate that any mention of a case that's pending before court in the House will prejudice the possible outcome of that case. And if any member ventures into discussing the merit of any case pending before a court of law, the Speaker, who is a consummate lawyer, will stop that member. On the matter of conflict of interest, you have simply said number 15, you have not mentioned the name, and the number of members required to support the motion was 88, you have 110, so even if you have number 15 out, it makes no difference. So I will order that the motion continues. Murugara.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose this motion. And I do have various reasons why I urge the House to reject this motion. Some of them are purely based on the law, because the motion in certain respects does breach statutes, and as such, this House cannot condone a motion that breaches statutes. Mr. Speaker, if you allow me to move, because I have limited time, I wish to draw attention of the House to the affidavit in support of the motion. The affidavit is sworn by the mover of the motion before a commissioner for odds. It is also very clear from the motion that the affidavit was drawn by a law firm of Messrs. Brad, Kaeba, Kamau, and Company Advocates. It then becomes apparent on the face of the record that the affidavit was commissioned by the same advocate who drew it. That advocate is Mr. Brian Madila Kaemba, who is of the law firm of Brian Kaemba, Kamau and Company. That being the case, then, this affidavit is in
direct contravention of the Oaths and Statutory Declarations Act, Chapter 15 of the Laws of Kenya. And the offended section is Section 4.1 of that particular act, because it expressly prohibits any person who is administering oath not to have any interest in the matter. Having done so, then it means the affidavit in support is faulty. The speaker has the discretion to expurge it from the record. If that is done, it means then the affidavit and all the supporting documents go with it. If that happens, then it means we have a motion that is not supported by any evidence. The consequence of that is that the motion cannot stand as it is and should actually fail. For that reason, and I do reserve my rights to raise this at any stage. I urge the House to reject this motion for being in the contravention of the statute. Number two, it is very important that as we debate, we also know that this House is not a guillotine. A guillotine, for those who do not know, was an instrument of execution during the French Revolution, which was in the 18th century. And the purpose of the guillotine was actually to chop off everybody's head when it was brought before that particular tribunal. We must go to what our constitution says, which is exactly what we have before the House. What does the cabinet secretary do? Because the offenses we have here are all on the allegations of having approved. He made approvals for certain contracts, he made approvals for certain disbursements, he made approvals. The question we ask is this: under our constitution and the law, who is the accounting officer? Can a cabinet secretary be held responsible for matters that are discharged by an accounting officer? Truly, a cabinet secretary is not an accounting officer. He is not responsible for approvals that have been enumerated here and assigned to actually guillotine them. And I urge the House to reject the process of guillotine. We also have been told, in as much as we cannot say the matter is substituted before Parliament, my submission before the House is that this matter is seized by Parliament, and it is premature. It is premature in that the matter was brought to the House, it was committed to Agriculture Committee, and the Agriculture Committee is still working on it. We are also informed that there are other government agencies that are investigating the matter. The net effect is that the results of this investigation may actually exonerate the Cabinet Secretary, and therefore, if this House proceeds with the motion as it is, we have the possibility, there is a likelihood of making a premature decision. And this is what we are terming as guillotine. So, honorable members, as we debate, we must also confine ourselves to the provisions of the Constitution, to the provisions of the law, so that we do not execute and understand the matter before the House. What would happen if...
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have labored to listen to my chairman make his submission on this point. And he has made 2 points, which essentially question your direction on this matter. He has made submissions on the admissibility of the affidavit, and is making submissions on the admissibility of the debate on account of the fact that it's before a committee. which is junior to the House. Is it in order for my chairman, Honorable Murugara, to question your admission of this matter to debate? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, thank you so much. Speaker, sir, understanding orders. What the Speaker did was to look at the motion as it was presented before him. He may not have gone into the nitty-gritty of how the affidavits and the rest of the evidence was introduced because he was not required to do so by the Constitution and by the law. It is now, during debate, when we actually have the opportunity to demonstrate to the House exactly what the loopholes, what the shortfalls are as far as this petition is concerned. What the Speaker is required to do is to glimpse over the grounds, over the affidavit, and confirm that it meets the threshold. That threshold in itself is not conclusive that all the matters that appertain herein have been looked at and have been examined. This is why, and as he rightly says, as the chairperson of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, I have the responsibility to draw to this House the various statutes which may have been breached. I also have the responsibility to actually draw to the attention of the House if there are any constitutional contraventions. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, before the Agriculture Committee is actually an investigation by this House on, or if not all, most of the matters that are in this petition. So we go to the question, can this House proceed with this motion when actually that investigation is ongoing and a report is awaited? I may not be able to call upon the House, upon the Speaker to make a ruling now, but I call upon the House to reject this particular motion because of the fact that the same matter is seized by the same House and we await the outcome in a parliamentary report that will be tabled here, which we are going to report and in which we will make our recommendations. Mr. Speaker, with those very many remarks, I urge the House, because of the votes in this particular motion, to actually reject it. Thank you. And I do oppose.
Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Minority Leader, members, you have 10 minutes. In the event you exhaust your argument after 10 minutes, yield the ground to other members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to get straight to the point, and from the outset, declare that I support the motion. And I want to thank both of you, the initiator of the motion, the Honorable Jack Maboka. I think that Jack Maboka is very kind in the fullness of time.
Sasa kapagano naona kama sina naona ni place kama asili place. Asili place.
Ni gani iko? Kuna paragraph.
Hakuna hiyo raha.
For what you've done for the country today. And let me say this, Honorable Speaker, that listening keenly to the submission by Honorable Wambo and having scrutinized the documents that have been presented, the annexures and so on and so forth, I am more than convinced that the Cabinet Secretary, the Honorable Linturis, has actually fallen short of the requirement of the Constitution as a holder of a public. And indeed, the Honorable Jaffa Mboka has clearly drawn a linkage between the conduct of Honorable Linturis and the grounds outlined under Article 152. And
Article 152, sub-article 4A, if I'm not wrong. Article 152, sub-article 6, the three grounds upon which a cabinet secretary may be subjected to a motion such as this, Honorable Speaker. And I won't belabor the point. The Honorable Speaker, let me start by saying, again, that the conduct of the cabinet secretary as captured, as depicted in the submission by Honorable Wamboka, as depicted, as captured in the documents that have been attached to the motion, clearly point to a situation where the CS has gone against the national values and principles of governance under Article 10, and specifically Article 10, sub-article 2, that is national values and principles of governance, including good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability, among other things. Mr. Speaker, a person holding the office of a cabinet secretary is not a small person. The Constitution under Article 152 provides for the cabinet, and we all know the composition of the cabinet. And the cabinet secretary is a member of the cabinet under Article 152. Honorable Speaker, the Constitution goes further. Under Article 152, sub-article 4, that each person appointed as a cabinet secretary assumes office by swearing or affirming faithfulness to the people and the Republic of Kenya and obedience to the Constitution, and so on and so forth. But it goes further at Article 153. It goes further, Honorable Speaker. At Article 153, Article 2, to state that CSS are accountable individually and collectively to the President for the exercise of their powers and the performance of their functions. Where am I saying this? For the exercise of their powers and the performance of their functions. Where am I saying this, Honorable Speaker? That a motion for impeachment, such as this one, is indeed a tool of the last resort. All over the world, in all mature democracies, parliaments such as this one resort to impeachment motions, impeachment processes, as an action of last resort. Because the Constitution provides for avenues through which a CS can submit to another Constitution. One of them is through dismissal by the appointing of another one is by resignation. The third one is through this process. Honorable Speaker, the appointing authority and Honorable Linturis could have saved the time of this House and indeed the country by doing what is necessary. Honorable Linturis by now should have actually voluntarily resigned. Failure to do so, Honorable Speaker, the appointing authority, who is the President of the Republic of Kenya, should have taken the action, logical action, and fired Honorable Linturis. But because both Linturis and the President have failed to do what the Constitution requires them to do, this House has got a duty, they are under the Constitution, to take the action that is currently contemplating taking by amending this Constitution. Honorable Speaker, I have looked at the issues which have been raised, Honorable Speaker. It sounds like something promoting. Honorable Speaker, you may think you are watching a movie. That the whole government can storm the president of a private company that is Chemicals Limited. and direct
You so
in
plus
fact
the one that
attempt from
is
March,
that.
the management of the company to go
You so plus 70 plus
and
61.
participate in a press conference at the premises of LCTV
Yeah. My God,
and take responsibility over something that the company secretary is
Adi?
directly culpable.
Eh.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker,
Adi kwa polisi? Aje?
food production,
Eh.
the matter of food
Oh.
security,
Oh,
and I
inaelewa.
wish Honorable Members listen.
Inaelewa kwa tu.
The matter of food security and food production generally
Oh.
is a matter that touches directly on national security.
10
And
plus
therefore, any time, any moment,
plus 11 40.
there is evidence of tampering with the production of food in this country. By way of supplying substandard or fake farm inputs, including fertilizer, Honorable Speaker. In some countries, you would usually be summarily executed. In some countries, if you are suspected of having been involved in jeopardizing food security over country, over nation, you would actually be summarily executed in the public. But we are lucky we have conservation and constitution and we are governed by the law. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, this is not a small matter. This is not a light matter. This is not a matter of politics. This is not about Kenya Kwanza or a Nimiu. It can't be. And this is not about Jacob. It's about the survival, the very survival of this country. It's about the very survival of this country. Honorable Speaker, countries that are food deficient, history has recorded, have been prone to coup and accountability and civil upheaval. And therefore anybody attempting to jeopardize production is inviting us to go that direction. You cannot govern an angry population. They can rise up against you anytime and overthrow you. So the cabinet secretary and his acolytes are directly responsible for attempting to ban food production. Honorable Speaker,
Oi.
can you imagine that the NCC, and don't tell me that the CS doesn't get involved in the procurement.
Kidogo nikija hapo.
That's what you can tell the banks. Everybody who lives in this country knows how government works.
Kidogo nikija.
The
Sawa.
National Cereals and Produce Board is a government entity. It's a parastatal within the Ministry of Agriculture, under the supervision of the CS for Agriculture. How on earth did NCPB procure hundreds of thousands of bags of NPK fertilizer from a briefcase company? A briefcase company, by going by the name MEMS Individual Limited. A company that has had no history of dealing with fertilizer. Then MEMS goes ahead and approaches came out. But then NCP goes ahead and pays for this fertilizer. This fake fertilizer. I may call it air. Because farmers will never use it anymore. NCP rushes to pay for this fertilizer. It basically tells you that somebody powerful was pulling the strings behind it. That is the point. Somebody even more powerful was pulling the strings behind it. So the cabinet secretary cannot absolve himself from accountability on this matter. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, even more intriguing,
Wewe kwa nini mbiko hapo yote?
as we are told that investigations
Iko na
are being
82.
conducted by the
Iko na 820.
and we are also being told here by my friend, Chairman of JLAC and Owen Bayer, that the Committee on Agriculture is also seized of the matter. that you wait for the outcome and Owen buyer, that the committee on agriculture also feels of the matter, that you wait for the outcome of their investigation or inquiry. And yet, LTPP goes ahead to decree that it is embarking on a scheme to compensate farmers who purchase the fake fertilizer. Then you ask yourself, where are they getting the money from? This house, to the best of my recollection, did not authorize any such expenditure. Did not. Where did LTPP get the authority and the money to compensate farmers? Yet, even before the investigations are complete, we will know how much was this fake fertilizer as we speak. Do we know? We don't. We don't. Honorable Speaker, from what I know, from what I know is that what we are being told is just by the tip of the iceberg. When the full extent of this fertilizer scandal is exposed, you will be shocked. It will be worse than Goldenberg scandal. What you are being told is just but the tip of the iceberg. And the Honorable Speaker, in my capacity as leader of the new this side, I am privy to also information. In fact, information just comes to me. I don't go looking for information. And I'm going to fight for it of this. Let me tell you, even if this house attempts to allow military to go scot-free, in the fullness of time, each and every person who is involved in this practice will have a this. Let me just say that I support this motion. Times we have wanted to sacrifice people who are not really victims of what we want to sacrifice them for. I recall the speaker in Kakamega County, there was also this fertilizer by the county government. Mr. Speaker, upon investigation, it was found that this fertilizer, as much as everyone was crying for the head of the governor, it was something fishy with the supplier, with the standards in the Kakamega County. Madam Speaker, personally, at all this, I'm looking at the role of the CEO of National Cereals and Produce Board. What is his role in this procurement? Mr. Speaker, I'm also asking myself, what is the role of Kenya Bureau of Standards? Mr. Speaker, these are the key bodies that were advising on what to be supplied and finally what was supplied in terms of standards. Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid that what is being alleged here, I have a feeling it could be something that's beyond what's on this floor. Because most of us, as we arise to speak, as even raised by Honorable Bayer, we will be seeing more than what we're seeing in the floor of this house.
something that has gone wrong somewhere, maybe in line or something like that, that finally has found itself on the floor. Mr. Speaker, this matter is under the CEO of National Security Approach Board has been arrested. So if we proceed, for example, now to impeach the Minister of the CS, Madam Mr. Speaker, personally, I'll be taking to see that you have actually acted because the has come out. I would that we actually don't proceed with this motion so that we give time. The actual bodies that are entitled with investigations investigate. They complete the process of investigation. Once they take this matter through, ESC takes this matter through, but finally when you have a report, then this matter can come on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, I'm also aware this matter is under the Agriculture Committee of the National Assembly, also the Agriculture Committee of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I would that we let this matter first of all, processed by those respective committees, after which now we can proceed whether this CS is criminal or this matter as alleged by the mover. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I oppose this motion. Thank you.
What's that?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I start by stating on record that I support this motion. And if you look at the names of those members of parliament who have appended their signatures for the removal or initiation of the process of removal of this cabinet, I am number 27. Mr. Speaker, I want to just mention number one, National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, has a responsibility. And this responsibility is given to us by the people of Kenya through the constitution that we have today. Article 95, Mr. Speaker, 5 of the Constitution, and I want to read, gives the National Assembly the responsibility to review the conduct of the in office of the President, the Deputy President, and other state officers, including cabinet secretaries, and initiate the process of removing them from office. So, Mr. Speaker, what we are embarking on today, one of those cardinal responsibilities given National Assembly by the people of Kenya to review the conduct of our cabinet Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with those members of parliament who think they want to say if I were you, if you love this cabinet secretary, the more reason you should vote for this motion. Mr. Speaker, today we are not removing. We are not removing the cabinet. If you read, Mr. Speaker, Article 152 of the Constitution, which gives details of how to a cabinet it's a motion that a member of the National Assembly that Honorable Komboka has done, supported by at least 1/4 of all the members of the Assembly, may propose a motion requiring the President to dismiss a cabinet secretary. That is the motion we are dealing with. And the grounds are stated. Mr. Speaker, the article, the same article goes ahead to mention that if this motion is supported by at least 1/3 this morning of the members of the National Assembly, then the Assembly shall appoint a select committee comprising of 11 of its members to investigate the matter. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the document presented to us by Honorable Wamboka, the only way justice can be done to this cabinet secretary is for this House to push this matter forward so that a select committee of this House will have an opportunity to look at the details as presented. How else, Mr. Speaker, will we even know that this telephone call was made by Honorable Linturis if we don't give opportunity to this House to appoint a select committee to go and scrutinize, get to the bottom of these details, and bring a report to us
if they find that these matters are not substantiated, if the committee shall find that these matters are not properly substantiated, then the matter will end there. The committee will report back to the House and the matter will die. But if the matters will have been found to have been substantiated, then this House will proceed to take another vote, Mr. Speaker, where even before we take the vote, we will present Honorable Mithika Linturi with an opportunity to address this Parliament and defend himself. That is the time we will know that he's innocent or is not innocent. But stopping this process at this stage would be reckless, would be careless, and would demonstrate a House that does not know its responsibility.
Yes,
so, Mr. Speaker,
thank you.
I want to also add that it is not just on grounds of gross violation of the provisions of this Constitution that you would initiate a process of removing a cabinet secretary. It is not only on the grounds of where serious reasons of believing that the cabinet secretary has committed a crime under the national or international law that a process like this is initiated. This process will even be initiated if we have a reason to believe that there is gross misconduct on the part of the cabinet secretary. And Mr. Speaker, based on the evidence that Honorable Mboka has presented to this House, and particularly I'm concerned about the issues of National Cereals and Produce Board. Mr. Speaker, the first question that I would ask those who want to oppose this motion, are you telling us that National Cereals and Produce Board would go ahead with the budgetary provision given by this House as proposed by the Cabinet Secretary, presented to us? We give out money. This money goes and buys cocoto instead of fertilizer given to our farmers, and only whistleblowers are able to know. Yet we have a ministry which has a cabinet secretary heading that ministry, and that cabinet secretary is ignorant. But Mr. Speaker, what worries me more is the evidence that is produced before us through a letter that is written by a lawyer, Ahmed Nasir Mohammed. And clearly, Ahmed Nasir is telling us that Mithika Linturi even attempted to subvert justice by trying to dictate or order this particular factory to go and issue a statement. And the evidence is there. The telephone number is there. Calls were made. Safaricom can confirm the same. And that is why I want to plead with this House, Mr. Speaker, that this is a matter that we cannot treat casually. This is a matter of hunger. It is a matter of food. It is a matter of food security in this country. It is a matter that can bring this country to anarchy, as the minority leader said. We must show responsibility. You are elected by your people to come and speak for them. They don't have a voice. They cannot talk to Mithika Linturi. It is you who can speak to Mithika Linturi. It is you who can speak to William Ruto, who appointed Mithika Linturi. And when these cabinet secretaries were appointed, Mr. Speaker, I remember saying that this is going to go in the records of history as the most incompetent cabinet. And you can already see that some people are protecting, Mr. Speaker, Mithika Linturi, and claiming that he was ignorant of what was happening in National Cereals and Produce Board. Mr. Speaker, if Mr. Linturi can be ignorant of what is happening at the National Cereals and Produce Board, then what can he be ignorant about? This is an incompetent... Mr. Speaker, I read pursuant to Standing Order number 83 and read together with Standing Order number 91 on the accuracy of information that is being provided by my very good friend, the Honorable Bahari. Mr. Speaker, is it in order for the Member of Parliament, for the nominated Member of Parliament, to claim that he had already made up his mind from the time the Cabinet Secretaries were nominated or appointed that they were incompetent, so that his information that he had at that time, which he never gave us in the House, when we were approving Mithika Linturi, is it in order, Mr. Speaker, for somebody
he had, on which he thinks he should have had. The accuracy of this information, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, is in fact wanting. He is alleging that in fact the conduct of the president is not an issue here. In fact, if he wants to bring a substantive motion with the issue of the conduct, he should not mention the president. He is not part of the motion that is in the House. The motion is in the House is with regard to the Honorable Linturis, who was his colleague in the 13th Parliament. Mr. Speaker, is it in order for him to claim that he had this information but he never gave to the House? That is very misleading, Mr. Speaker.
Why do I end up?
Mr. Speaker, you know Honorable Jepkonga could be older than me by age, but he is not older than me in this House, and I don't know why he's resting so early. You still have time to hear, so don't rust. Please just remain active, focus on what I say. Mr. Speaker, I was reminding the President, we are appealing to the President as the appointing authority. That is what we are doing here. The President has to remove this Cabinet Secretary from office. We are speaking to him. We are telling him this is one of your incompetent Cabinet Secretaries. Please hear us. Listen to us. I said this when these Cabinet Secretaries were being approved. It is on record. I even used words that I don't want to repeat today. So, Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying in a nutshell, Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I want to plead with this House. Please allow this motion to go through so that we can appoint a select committee of 11 members to interrogate this matter, look at it into detail, look at the evidence adduced, so that if there is no evidence, we will let Linturis continue running the ministry. If there is evidence, let us get him out, get another Kenyan, even if we want Kenyan from that region where I come from. There are so many competent Kenyans from that region, that county, that part of the country. Mr. Speaker, I want to plead and persuade, including the majority leader, support this motion so that we can have these matters settled in a professional manner through the committee of this House. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hear my good friend Honorable John Bani asking me to support, and I rise to oppose this motion. Honorable Speaker, by the Honorable Member of Mula, the Honorable Jack Wanami Wamboka. But allow me, Honorable Speaker, to take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Jack Wamboka for having the courage and fortitude to not only collect signatures and bring this motion, but also to prosecute it. Although he has performed dismally in his prosecution of the motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I keenly listened to you on Tuesday when you made your communication, Honorable Speaker, on this motion. Honorable Speaker, this House is guided, or rather, as you stated, is a house of rules, and is guided by not just by the standing orders, but also by a constitution. Honorable Speaker, if you read through standing order 64.6, you will realize that the Honorable Wamboka's motion falls flat and contra our standing orders and also the constitution, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is also true that matters to do with removal of office of public officers, as you stated in your communication, Honorable Speaker, are largely guided also by precedents and borrows heavily from court rulings and the threshold set in. Honorable Speaker, the famous Wambora cases on the removal of former governor for Embu County speaks volumes. Honorable Speaker, in that case, the Wambora case, one of the things that was made clear is that there must be a very clear nexus between the person being removed from office and the alleged grounds on which that removal is sought. Therefore, the question we ought to ask ourselves, Honorable Speaker, has the mover of this motion, Honorable Jack Wamboka, created or shown us that nexus between the person being removed from office as Cabinet Secretary and the alleged grounds of removal? And the straight answer, Honorable Speaker, is none.
there is completely no nexus between the allegations that the Honorable Jack Wamboka presented in his moving of this motion, Honorable Speaker. And indeed, Honorable Speaker, if you listen to Honorable Jack Wamboka, Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from the members who are consulting very loudly. Honorable Speaker, I'll ask you if you can protect me from the loud consultation. Order.
All the honorable members on their feet. The standing order say only the members speaking should be on their feet. If you are in transit, then transit where you are going. Go on.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was stating that the Honorable Jack Wamboka has completely failed to show us the nexus between the allegations that he was speaking about and the person he seeks to remove from office. Indeed, in his own submission, Honorable Speaker, he has alluded to issues touching on procurement and distribution of fertilizer by the National Cereals and Produce Board. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Jack Wamboka is not an ordinary member of Parliament. The Honorable Jack Wamboka, and congratulations to him, is a first-time member of Parliament, but also serving as a senior member of this House as the chair of the Public Investments Committee. And therefore he knows, because he oversights these parastatals, some of these parastatals in PIC, that parastatals are semi-autonomous of ministries. And indeed the State Corporations Act is very clear that ministers, principal secretaries or accounting officers cannot and must never be seen to micromanage parastatals or state corporations. The Honorable Wamboka has failed to show us the nexus between CS Medical Linturis and the procurement processes or distribution of fertilizers at NCPB. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, he also failed to inform the House that DCI that has been investigating this matter has already preferred charges against arrested and preferred charges which the DPP has consented to for the prosecution of officers that DCI feels might be culpable on the matter of the procurement and distribution of this fertilizer, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, I was waiting, Honorable Speaker, with bated breath for the Honorable Wamboka to show us that nexus. He has failed to do so. And therefore, this motion falls flat on its face, on the face of the Honorable Jack Wamboka. Honorable Speaker, it also lacks any clear precision of the violation of law and the Constitution. And the Honorable Wamboka did not show us any clear violation of any section of the law or indeed of the Constitution by CS Medical Linturis. Honorable Speaker, look at the profit value. And I think the Honorable Murugara had alluded to it. The Honorable Mbaya had also alluded to the profit value of the issues that the Honorable Jack Wamboka has tabled before the House. Honorable Speaker, he took us through what the Honorable Member for Kilifi North was telling us were not just excerpts from Citizen, NTV, Asian newspapers, our newspaper, and other media houses. And Honorable Speaker, we have tremendous respect for our media houses because as a fourth estate, they have a duty like we do to oversight government and the executive, Honorable Speaker. And we must allow our media houses to help us to raise issues that are also of concern to the people of Kenya, just like we raise. But media houses cannot be the basis, Honorable Speaker, in line with our own procedures in this House, to adduce evidence before this House. And Honorable Speaker, I dare ask, if we were to prosecute, if we were to impeach CS Medical Linturis on the basis of newspaper articles, Honorable Speaker, allow me the indulgence, Honorable Speaker, to read a newspaper article that was featured by the Sunday Nation on April 14, 2024. And this article, Honorable Speaker, said that House team boss on extortion spree. And I'm reading this article, Honorable Speaker, so that we may ask ourselves, If I am that house boss being reported here on an extortion spree, would it be fair for us to impeach myself? If that house boss is the Honorable Amboka, the mover of this motion, how fair would it be for me to move the House to impeach the Honorable Amboka on the basis of a newspaper article from a gossip forum like this one, Honorable Speaker? This article says that the chairman of a powerful committee is on the spot for harassing witnesses that appear before him. Talk of town has learned that the chairman calls cabinet secretaries scheduled to appear before his committee and demands huge amounts of money in order to be looked at favorably when they appear. The CSAs were heard complaining that the MP is demanding and asks for money using threats at least 1 week before they appear in his committee. Those who fail to play ball by parting with cash demand are harassed during their appearance and negative reports are given on their manifesto. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker,
Member for Busia, you are totally out of order to stand up and raise your hand.
Honorable Speaker, I read this article because I am pointing to the issue of us using newspaper articles, media reports to impeach state and public officers, including members of parliament, chairs of committees, cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, Honorable Speaker, that we cannot use the basis of newspaper reports to impeach anybody. And that's why I said, Honorable Speaker, if I was that house boss only that I don't chair a committee, the Honorable Amboka Wanami is a chair of a powerful committee. How do I know? Who would know what this newspaper column was, who it was referring to? Supposing it was Honorable Amboka, how fair would it be for us to seek to impeach him on the basis of a gossip column, like he's calling on us to impeach a cabinet secretary today on the basis of newspaper and media reports? Speaker, I say, Honorable Speaker, he has completely failed to prove his case. Honorable Speaker, moving on, Honorable Speaker, is this motion adequate? Honorable Speaker, and I have listened keenly to the Honorable John Buddy, my good friend, prosecute the point like the leader of minority has prosecuted, that maybe we should allow this to move on to committee, and the committee of 11 will then look into the probate issues. But if the probate value of the evidence being adduced by the Honorable Amboka in the motion is defective ab initio, then we will be wasting valuable parliamentary time. Honorable Speaker, if you want committees to look into this issue, I am certain there are many members, including the member for Kwanza, who sit in the Agriculture Committee. A committee of this House is looking into the probate value of all the issues that were presented before that committee and is undertaking an inquiry into this matter. If I was the Honorable John Wamboka, I would have been patient to wait for the Agriculture Committee's inquiry to get substantive evidence that has probate value, evidence that has particulars, evidence that you can use to impeach a CS. Otherwise, what he is brought to us, Honorable Speaker, here is not even worth the paper published on these newspapers and the articles he has presented before the House. Just like this article speaking about a member of parliament extorting from cabinet secretaries is not worth our time. We should then not be wasting our time. Honorable Speaker.
Order. Senior Counsel Molo, what is the...
Mr. Speaker, I stand under Standing Order 87.4 and 91. Under 87.4, Mr. Speaker, no member can impute improper motives on any other member or members generally without a substantive motion within at least 3 days notice.
Order, member for Kisumu West.
And in addition,
that is grossly out of order.
Mr. Speaker, there is no substantive motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, understanding Order 87.4, you cannot impute improper motive either on a member or on the House without a substantive motion with at least 4 days' notice. And understanding Order 91, a member who then makes such a statement of fact must substantiate. Mr. Speaker, the leader of majority has just imputed that this House extorts from members of the cabinet. It does not matter that he's referring to some newspaper cutting which has not been tabled and which we do not know, and which he can also therefore not properly refer to. Mr. Speaker, I urge that you urge that the majority leader is out of order to retract those words and that they be extracted from the answer. Because anyone listening might actually think that we are tacitly admitting and approving those falsities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senior Counsel, I understood it different. I thought he was speaking about it in the negative, that we cannot pick a gossip column and use it as evidence against anybody. So as a matter of fact, the way I understood is that he's saying a gossip column cannot be a statement of fact, and that no member has extorted anybody unless there is evidence. So you are saying the same thing, as far as I understand. Order, carry on, Majority Leader. Order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And indeed, Honorable Speaker, you have captured it very well. And the point I was making, Honorable Speaker, for the benefit of the Honorable Chende Amono, in fact, I used my own example, and from example, the Honorable John Wamboka, Honorable Jack Wamboka. That, Honorable Speaker, the same way the Honorable Jack Wamboka has presented newspaper articles, media reports, is the same way anybody cannot present such gossip columns as this, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, that's what I was arguing, Honorable Speaker, that there are lax particulars, there is no precision on the gross violation of the Constitution. Jack Wamboka has completely failed to show us that, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was on the point of whether this particular motion is a decoy to derail the substantive inquiry that is before this House by a committee of this House, Honorable Speaker. And I want, Honorable Speaker, to humbly submit that I find this motion as a decoy, as such decoy, to make sure that we hide those who are ultimately culpable by derailing the Committee for Agriculture from doing its work. And I want to encourage members of the Agriculture Committee to get to the bottom of this fertilizer issue, Honorable Speaker. Ensure that the inquiry pinpoints to us those who are ultimately culpable. And that is why, Honorable Speaker, I was saying, if I were the Honorable Jack Wamboka, I would have been very patient to wait for the Agriculture Committee to tell us who or which organization or which particular state officers are culpable, including the Cabinet Secretaries and the PSs. Should the Agriculture Committee find the Cabinet Secretary, the Principal Secretaries, those at NCPB culpable, then we have a duty and an obligation to the country to hold them to account. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, as things stand now, the Honorable Jack Wamboka has completely failed, Honorable Speaker. This motion, Honorable Speaker, finally seeks to remove the CS on grounds that there were serious reasons to believe that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law. Honorable Speaker, this ground requires the Honorable Jack Wamboka to have attached evidence of conviction or judgment made against the accused person. He has failed to do so. In fact, he has gone to great lengths, Honorable Speaker, to quote cases that, as somebody, I think is Honorable Owen Bayer, pointed out, cases that we considered at the point the House vetted the Honorable physically as Cabinet Secretary and approved. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, as the Honorable Owen Bayer was alluding to, that is a matter that is already spent. The Honorable Jack Wamboka therefore cannot take the House back to relook into those cases. And may I remind him when the Honorable CS appeared before the committee, he said he had 32 court cases that he was battling with, some people, and he was dealing with them. And the committee, including the member of Umura, approved the cabinet secretary to serve as cabinet secretary. How then do you retract your own steps or call the House to retract our own steps, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, allow me to conclude by just saying, Honorable Speaker, that the mover of this motion, as courageous as he thought he was, he has completely failed the House. He has failed to show us the precision with the law that he ought to show in line with the Constitution and the standing orders. I have spoken to the proper value of the evidence he has adduced that is not there. The grounds, as I said, Honorable Speaker, are particularly not particularized in line with our standing order 64 and 66. And that is why I said he's quoting newspaper articles, which I also said I could quote about chairs of committees and other people who are said to extort money. And Honorable Speaker, allow me, Honorable Speaker, then to plead with this House to defeat this motion because it will derail the fight against corruption. If we derail the fight against corruption, Honorable Speaker, by using such motions to speak to the gallery, to speak to our voters, to speak about corruption but never acting over corruption, Honorable Speaker. Remember in the 11th Parliament, Honorable Speaker, in the State of the Nation address, 200 state officers were declared jobless. But what came out of that political pronouncement, Honorable Speaker? Absolutely nothing. That is what the Honorable Jack Wamboka is calling on this House to do. To make a political declaration in the impeachment of affairs, but get absolutely no value in the fight against corruption. Allow our Committee for Agriculture to expedite its inquiry, find those who are culpable to be charged before court, allow DCI, EACC to complete the investigation, and call on us. If you find any public officer culpable, we shall be there to support you to impeach anybody who will be found culpable subsequent to credible investigations. But these other political things from newspaper cuttings by friend Jack Wamboka falls flat. And I would beg you, this early, to withdraw this motion to save yourself from the embarrassment. Honorable Jack Wamboka. This is why the Constitution put a very high threshold.
Oh, nasi kuona kwa muda nimekuona tu ndio.
Daniel Manduku.
Nilikuwa tu okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the motion of impeachment of the Honorable Linturis as CS for Agriculture. Mr. Speaker, I support this motion not just because I represent farmers in everybody Masaba, nor is it because my own mother is a victim of the fake fertilizer scam. Neither is it because I'm a farmer. But I support this motion because I feel that it's a moral obligation that I'm faced with as a member of parliament and as a leader in this country. Mr. Speaker, when the fake fertilizer scam came up, Honorable Linturis went to the media and denied the existence of any fake fertilizer. After that, he blamed the opposition and called us saboteurs. Later on, the Deputy President came and confirmed that indeed there was existence of fake fertilizer in the market, whereupon Honorable Linturis confirmed himself. And depending on who was speaking at the time, the number of bags kept changing between 3,000 and 50,000. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Linturis has served in the Ministry of Agriculture for about 2 years. We've not had any major transformative ideas from Honorable Linturis to make agriculture grow, given that it is a backbone
of our country. Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with my minority leader that we should not have gotten to this point, given that the president himself, even as late as yesterday, told the nation that he's not here to make popular decisions. He expects the president, now that he has set the standard himself and he has a marking scheme, to take action immediately if this house does not get Mr. Linturis out. Honorable Speaker, our agriculture sector has faced a serious downturn, and it is time that the president was somebody who can upturn the sector, given that millions and millions of our people depend on agriculture. Mr. Speaker, looking at the evidence before us today and hearing the submissions by members, it is very obvious that right from the manufacture, distribution, warehousing, and eventual delivery of the fertilizer, Honorable Linturis' hands and feet are all over this document. There is sufficient evidence, Honorable Speaker, to send Honorable Linturis home. My plea to my friends, especially members of Parliament from areas that practice agriculture, is to put aside our party positions and look at this as a critical national agenda and support the removal of Honorable Mr. Linturis as CS for agriculture on the basis of his incompetence and lack of collective responsibility. Mr. Speaker, if the president wants to know the real saboteur in his cabinet, he should point at Honorable Mr. Linturis. Our farmers, if you get a low yield this year, or your crop fails, point at the face of Honorable Mr. Linturis. To our children who are watching TV today, the teacher asks you what the definition of incompetence is. Tell him it is Honorable Mr. Linturis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I oppose this motion. Mr. Speaker, the mover of this motion, Honorable Wamboka, has said Mr. Speaker, we are all for the farmers. The whole house is for the farmers. Mr. Speaker, you should lay the blame where it is, and not at the feet of the Honorable Mr. Speaker, on our order paper, page 508, he says serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law. We go to the second one, B, where he says he faces criminal proceedings in relation to 6 pending civil, commercial and family suits. Mr. Speaker, what has his family suits got to do with it or civil suits? Mr. Speaker, when we were approving, because I was in the appointments committee, where we did with Honorable Opio Wandai and the others, and the minority whip, a majority leader, majority leader, we did the gutting of the CS. And yes, he did say he had those cases. But Mr. Speaker, those cases are in a court of law. So is he now bringing other things which are not related to fertilizer in his pleadings? Mr. Speaker, I think that is completely wrong. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, on the same page, he says the Cabinet Secretary supplied misleading information. That one is in 1E, where 51 Capital Africa was given a contract which was signed by NCPB in the year 2022, when Honorable Mr. Linturis was not even the CS. So is it apportioning the blame for what was done in March 2022 for Honorable CS Linturis? I think Honorable Omboka and some of the members here have got a vendetta against the CS Linturi, because CS Linturi handles more than 100 sagas under his ministry, and he cannot be seen to be supervising each and every saga in his ministry, Mr. Speaker. When we say that we want now that CS Linturi to take the flag, and I even what our minority leader has said, there was sabotage. Yes, there is sabotage of CS Linturi because the bags which were found, and why haven't we even talked about MEMS Limited distributors? Who are the owners of MEMS? MEMS distributors, the owner, the majority owner is one Collins Nketich, who is the majority owner. And Mr. Speaker, he is the one who had a case with CS Linturi, a civil case regarding Articon. Mr. Speaker, when he is on the opposite side of the CS, definitely MEMS distributors are the ones culpable. They are the ones who have put those bad things in the fertilizer bags of KELS. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Omboka has said the CS tried to call KEL Chemicals Director Kumar more than 20 times. Mr. Speaker, I can be calling even the majority leader or even you, Mr. Speaker, you may not pick my call. Even sometimes I call my friend here, Mheshimiwa Ronald Karaure, for more than 20 times he doesn't pick my call. So what does it mean? Oh, when I talk to him, have they got records of what I talk to him about? So, Mr. Speaker, you cannot be said that I called somebody for 20 times when you do not know what the conversation was about. It's a matter of conjecture that Honorable C.S. Linturi called KEL Chemicals Director. And KEL Chemicals have said more bags were supplied. So what happens to those bags is MEMS to tell us what exactly happens. So, Mr. Speaker, this motion is not going anywhere. We are with the CS Linturi because he is not culpable. Let the culpable people be taken to court and let the Agriculture Committee finish its job. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I oppose. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to speak on this. And Mr. Speaker, I'll speak as a member of Agricultural Committee. Mr. Speaker, we have encountered this story of fake fertilizer from the time it caught the attention of the committee and of this House. Mr. Speaker, many things have transpired and happened, and I would want just to highlight a few things that members should know. That the committee has summoned many of the mentioned people here, including the Cabinet Secretary, some of the business people. We have also gone to the ground. Last weekend we were in Kitale, and we also went to Eldoret. We've gone to Meru, Embu, and many parts of this country just to engage with the farmers. Mr. Speaker, for the record, it is important for the House to know that the total number of fertilizers that were distributed in the year 2023-2024 was around 4.8 million bags. In year 2023-2022, 4.8 again. The first batch that was last year, that has no question, was procured by the batch that Mr. Speaker has brought attention of around 3,000 bags of not good standard, I will call it fake, was distributed by NCPD. Mr. Speaker, NCPD is a parastatal that is run by a CEO and is also run by a board. And Mr. Speaker, when we were following this as a committee, how, Mr. Speaker, do we get a manufacturer by name Lem being given a contract to distribute fertilizer that he had not produced before, approaches the company called Chemicals and requests them to use KEL Green
Ako ni 180 tu show. Si pesa hata mingi. Ai, labda last year but tu. Esho. Oyo kwa nayo kwa kini yake.
But later, NCPD again, Mr. Speaker, gives a contract to the same company, MEM, that is not a manufacturer, just a supplier and a distributor, to distribute extra 500,000. So what happened, Mr. Speaker? As a businessman, people became greedy. And so the total bags that were distributed and that's on record by Kel Chemical, which is Kel Green, was 9,000. And remember, we have around 4.8 million bags that have been distributed in this country. And so Mr. Speaker, I would like this House to ask itself, who is guilty? Mr. Speaker, it may be a bit emotional, it may be upset because for sure farmers have suffering, Mr. Speaker. That is the truth. That's the truth. It is also important for this House to know, Mr. Speaker, that there is one fertilizer, which is Kel Green, that was distributed through the government program. Then there's another fertilizer, that is GPC, that was done by a different company, which approached NCPD and requested them to distribute for them, not as a government program. This is where you saw, if people who followed in the media, where some soil was mixed with some manure, and it was called organic fertilizer. So we have a chain here, Mr. Speaker. We have the NCPD, which is a distributor. We have KEBS. This specific Mr. Karaoke, who is the person behind the GPC fertilizer, when he asked him what he was applying, he ashamedly told the committee to ask KEBS what he was supplying. So even himself, he didn't know what he was supplying to our farmers. Remember, this was not part of the government program. So Mr. Speaker has prosecuted this matter. And I have a lot of respect to my honorable member who brought this motion. I would ask honorable members to take time, allow the committee to bring a proper report on what happened. Because, Mr. Speaker, we have crooks as businessmen. These people should be named in this House. They should be shamed. And they should also be jailed, Mr. Speaker, for taking advantage of innocent farmers. Mr. Speaker, and I know many people here, they'll say, maybe the CS is arrogant, is uncouth, is not even qualified. It's neither here nor there, Mr. Speaker, because we pass the same CS here. And the question is, who gave our farmers free fertilizer? Who gave? That's what I said. I am not saying who gave, but the thing is, they gave. You allow me, Mr. Speaker. The NCPD, which is a government parastatal, Mr. Speaker, has a full board. It has a CEO. Does Linturis procure on behalf of NCPD? That's the question. Mr. Speaker, what is the role of the board of NCPD? What happened? And Mr. Speaker, I hope this House also can come out with a conclusive, finding, so that even NCPD as a distributor of fertilizer, they are able to monitor what comes into their stores. Because there's also a company, Mr. Speaker, that should interest this House, that was given a license by KEBS to have the mark, and they are the ones who make the bags. So do we control who takes those bags or not? And I want to give an example of famous people. If you get that can, written people, what is inside it? So as we prosecute this matter, Mr. Speaker, I would say this House should allow the Commission on Agriculture to lay a very conclusive report. We have been with the farmers, we have talked to these people, and Mr. Speaker, the truth shall come out. And so with that, Mr. Speaker, I beg to oppose this motion. And Mr. Speaker, I will say, today it might be the person you are naming, tomorrow it might be you, but be prosecuted with justice. Let us follow. Who is the procurement person? Who is the accounting officer? There are so many people in the chain. So, Mr. Speaker, about whether somebody is ugly or not ugly,
Those are things that we can discuss later. And I beg to oppose, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
The Speaker is very clear that rules.
Order, Honorable Wandai.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not appealing to my colleagues, but I want them to stand for farmers. Anybody, including farmers in Dewa, anybody who is trying to mess up with farmers does not have our back as a parliament. And we have to stand to be counted. The Speaker is clear that violation of Article 2 and 10, 1C, which talks of procurement, of policies that drive procurement and distribution, points to the values and principles of
Hello. Asante sana. Maziwa.
Maziwa jambi. Kuweta yako ya kulita nyota tunakera mirara. Ngoja two times.
Ndio kuna ngine.
Tanare utaleta shule wewe tarijeo.
Kama
Tanare.
ndio anaenda moja ndio moja.
Unaona mtu huyo alienda kwa TMP na huo analeta sida ruki. Mekari wewe wata mbele.
Yeye wata. Wata
na kata sanga tu ngateba ile. Kwa mbele da mwisio.
Oh, hizo ni rimba ile.
Bizera.
security and employment, raising up national productivity, and essential as communities as a whole. And if these are best of any means, the productivity of this country must have as well. President cannot go without saying that governance is a key pillar. Government, all the spheres of government. And if somebody is found, we cannot miss our work. And I want to say, as Honorable Bani says, if you love your CS, then let's vote so that this can go to the committee and over it. Those articles, supplying or allowing fertilizer to supply is practicing the soil. And all of us depend on the soil for productivity of food support this motion so that it can go to the select without further investigation. As people's representation who are serious and who are ready to stand for them. If agriculture, the way it's been messed up now, fertilizers and blood, poverty, necessity, poverty, does not require action. Let us all stand call for this so that we can go to I stand here by propose the motion because the speaker said the motion does not meet the necessary threshold. It does not meet all the ingredients and the requirements that it is supposed to be each cabinet minister. So it's very clear that the purpose of a minister is to come from a minister. Order.
there's a lot of noise in the house. Order. And the mention that they cannot be heard. It's only going to be heard that are not being heard because of a lot of noise. Order, members. Order. Order, member for speaker down. Order. Order, member. That's doing the other member. Mr. Speaker, sir, what I'm saying is that when the matter came, the matter of agriculture, the fertilizer distribution, and the way of the fake fertilizer before the house, the matter was seized by this house, was at the part of the proceedings of this house. And the matter was referred to the Departmental Committee for purposes of investigating and putting in and report to this house. The committee has not been given that chance because the committee has not this investigation. Now, as usual, we go ahead and impeach the minister, and at the end of the day, the verdict of the committee come up with a different version altogether. Then all will be debated because the decision was taken, how to go out and test would have taken, would not be reversed. Yes, another which is being handled by a competent committee which has powers and coordination, which has coordination powers. What we say was before this house, yet the committee is of the state and it has the same powers. Or it is a creature of this house, and the decision is made, it is going to by this house. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I, in the nutshell, that the provision which has been quoted by the form of the motion does not mean the minister per se. The provisions are just in general terms, just to make sure that it works and it wipes the members' sympathy. Yes, but I think manufacturing the same fertilizer, distributing and making sure that it's to the extent that it's going now to make the farmers. It's not a benefit. Let's not carry through that one. The agency just policy administration, of which cannot be what we know very well that it's called supporting even an executive responsibility, general responsibility. And as for that, I pray that the powers of this house are similar to those of the court. And if the powers of the court can talk of the rule of prejudice, here we are. It should be considered, and it should not consider a matter of spending before the court. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thereby order, honorable members, order. Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. Members on their feet. Member for Jerry, take your seat. Honorable Mukabi. spend time in the morning. And it is unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, that after speaking with funerals, we come to the house, and when we are called upon to make a decision, we make the wrong decision. Mr. Speaker, this one should be the day that Kenyans will know that this house understands its powers and can use its powers for a purpose for which we are put here. Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate. Order members, order members. Member for Keharo, break the Kamukoji. Order members, order Bokitur, take your seat. Members, order. We'll hear on a Bongui. Go and continue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, sorry. Madam Speaker, what we are dealing with here is a major issue. And it is unfortunate, Madam Speaker, when you remember, there's just one citizen, and they are already backing the issue. Madam Speaker, it's unfortunate. What corruption from Kennedy Memorial? Today we have an opportunity to cast a vote that is going to tell Kenyans on whose side we are. Are we on the side of the people that are making phone calls in the night, Mr. Speaker, or are we on the side of the farmer, of the Kenyan that votes to this house? Kenyans watch and watch your member of parliament and how they vote. Know that votes are against this bill are people that must go home. 2027 is coming. You will go home if you vote against this bill. Let us vote in support of Kenyans. Thank you, Madam Speaker. take your seat on the Senior Council. Order, members. Member for Muranga. You are supposed to and to carry honor to this house for the people elected, not by shouting.
You believe?
What I'm saying happened, and some members, like member for Kigomori, member for Kisumu West, if you continue this round behavior with the rest of Musia, in the past, I have always operated under instruction that our female colleagues carry greater responsibility than the male. Today it appears to be the total opposite. Let's be orderly. You will make your point through the vote and not through how loud you shout. Your own children out there watching you like
No problem.
you continue behaving like that, it is most unfortunate. Otenda Molo, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I must confess that the Honorable Linturis is my friend. And because he's my friend, that's why I'm supporting this motion. Mr. Speaker, first of all, should the Cabinet Secretary take responsibility for the motion and issue at hand? The answer is yes. Why? Because we have it on his own authority that he's supposed to. The document attached, dated March 24th, signed by him, at paragraph 8, page 12 says, the ministry ensures that agricultural produce are of the right quality. It is the ministry. Who is the head of the ministry? The Cabinet Secretary. Mr. Speaker, secondly, should we defeat the motion so that the Agriculture Committee completes its work? The answer is no. Why? A select committee under Article 152 is superior and has a very clear timeline than the Agricultural Committee. It only has 10 days. So all the reasons adduced in defense of the Cabinet Secretary should be adduced to that select committee. If you believe the minister is without culpability, support the motion so that we have that committee, so that it says the minister is not culpable. What we are dealing with is more than criminal responsibility. What we are accusing the minister is what we call culpable maladministration. Someone has to take political responsibility. If we don't go as high as the president, we must go as high as the minister. Mr. Speaker, we speak for the millet farmers of Meru, for the coffee farmers in Central Region, for the tea farmers and the maize farmers in the Rift Valley region. And that is the club, that is the, that's the area that feeds this whole country. If we, as a National Assembly, cannot speak to them, the president could have said us this and sacked the minister. But because he has not, we must stand up to be counted. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, you only donated.
Speaker, I beg your indulgence.
I will not indulge you. Can you reply?
Sarah was my second.
I will not indulge you, either forfeit your time or reply.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker,
I will be here. All Kenyan farmers have left their farms and they are watching us. And Kenyan farmers have already been disgruntled, Mr. Speaker. There are some farmers who bought fertilizer, and when they took it to their farms, their crop is failing. Mr. Speaker, as we vote today, let us vote with our conscience. Mr. Speaker, we have talked about this issue of corruption from time immemorial. And it is unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, that after speaking in funerals, in church harambes, in birthday parties, we come to the house, and when we are called upon to make a decision, we make the wrong decision. Mr. Speaker, this one should be the day that Kenyans will know that this house understands its members and can use its powers for the purpose for which we were put here. Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate.
Order, members. Order, members. Order, members. Member for Kearo, break the Kamukonji. Order, members. Order, members. Honorable Kitur, take your seat. Members, order. We'll hear Honorable Mbue. Mbue, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, sorry. Madam Speaker, you see, what we are dealing with here is a major issue. And it is unfortunate, Madam Speaker, when you see members, they don't want to listen and they're already discussing their issue. Madam Speaker, it's unfortunate. We fought corruption from time immemorial. Today we have an opportunity to cast a vote that is going to tell Kenyans on whose side we are. Are we on the side of the people that are making phone calls in the night, Mr. Speaker, or are we on the side of the farmer, of the Kenyan that brought you to this house? Kenyans watch your member of parliament and how they vote. Those that vote against this bill are people that must go home. 2027 is coming. You will go home if you vote against this bill. Let us vote in support of Kenya. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Take your seats, honorable members. Order. 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 Order, honorable members. Order! Order, order, order! 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 Order, members! Order! Order! Order, honorable members, order, 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 members, order. Take your seats, members. Will you take your seats? Order! Order, members! Order! 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 Will you take your seats, members? Order, members! Order of Chumba. Order. Order. Order, members. Order. Order, members. Order. 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 Order, members, order. Order, members. Will you take your seats, members? Order. Order, members. Order, take your seat, honorable senior counsel. Order, honorable members.
On foot.
Member for Muranga. Member for Githunguri.
Broadways.
You are inviting the chair to exclude you from the house if you continue this round. You are supposed to be honorable members. And you can't honor this house for the people who elected you. Not by shouting. Coffee and always. I have a soft voice with a strong, powerful message. What I'm seeing happening, and some members, like member for Githunguri, member for Kisumu West, if you continue this round behavior, women rep for Busia, in fact, I have always operated under an illusion that our female colleagues carry greater levels of decency than the male ones. Today it appears to be the total opposite. Let's be orderly. You will make your point through your vote and not through how loud you shout. Your own children out there are watching you live. Your husbands are watching you live. If you continue behaving like that, it is most unfortunate. Otenda Molo, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I must confess that the Honorable Linturis is my friend, and because he's my friend, that's why I'm supporting this motion. Mr. Speaker, first of all, should the Cabinet Secretary take responsibility for the motion and the issue at hand? The answer is yes. Why? Because we have it on his own authority that he's supposed to. The document attached, dated March 24th, signed by him, at paragraph 8, page 12 says, the ministry ensures that agricultural produce are of the right quality. It is the ministry. Who is the head of the ministry? The Cabinet Secretary. Mr. Speaker, secondly, should we defeat the motion so that the Agriculture Committee completes its work? The answer is no. Why? A select committee under Article 152 is superior and has a very clear timeline than the Agricultural Committee. It only has 10 days. So all the reasons adduced in defense of the Cabinet Secretary should be adduced to that select committee. If you believe the minister is without culpability, support the motion so that we have that committee, so that it says the minister is not culpable. What we are dealing with is more than criminal responsibility. What we are accusing the minister is what we call culpable maladministration. Someone has to take political responsibility. If we don't go as high as the president, we must go as high as the minister. Mr. Speaker, we speak for the Mira farmers of Meru, for the coffee farmers in Central Region, for the tea farmers and the maize farmers in the Rift Valley region. And that is the club, that is the, that's the area that feeds this whole country. If we, as a National Assembly, cannot speak for them, who will speak for them? The president could have served as this and sacked the minister. But because he has not, we must stand up to be counted. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Order, you only donated to 2 members.
Honorable Speaker, I beg your indulgence.
I will not indulge you. Can you reply?
Sarah was my second.
I will not indulge you. Either forfeit your time or reply.
Honorable Speaker, and Honorable Nabi is my uncle. A curse may befell me, Honorable Speaker. Just 1 minute.
Either you reply or you take your seat.
Honorable Speaker, I want to implore to this House again, once again, honorable members, we are people's representatives. We were voted by farmers who cannot even afford a meal. Honorable members, Honorable Speaker, my heart goes to those women in the villages who are watching us now on TV, who went to buy fertilizer and turned out to be fertilizer bush. Honorable members, kindly, it is not about Kenya Kwanza, it is not about Azimio. It is a moral question. We are not targeting the Meru community, honorable members. Members, you would understand this is not the first scandal that has fallen at the feet of this minister. We had wrong sugar, honorable speaker. We had contaminated sugar released for public consumption, for crying out loud. For how long do you want the members of the public to suffer so that as a house we act? Mithika is the minister. They went and imported sugar that was contaminated, that was not good, that was not fit for human consumption. It went to the people. Cancer cases are now very high. There is a close relationship between cancer and contaminated sugar, edible oil. So when are we going to stand for our people? Honorable members, I beseech you as your colleague, that let's listen to the suffering of the Kenyan people, of the Kenyan Wamboi, of the Kenyan Wanjeku, who cannot be here to speak. Please, for once, let's listen to them. It is not about parties. It is not, and I insist, it is not. Now, Honorable Speaker, a lot of people were reluctant to append their signatures because members of this House have used that opportunity to go and collect bribes from people.
Order, Honorable Amboka. You are out of order.
I withdraw, Honorable Member.
You are totally out of order.
I withdraw. On that, I withdraw and apologize.
Order. Order, Honorable Members. Order. Order. Honorable Amboka. Order, Honorable Members. Order, Firma. Don't get carried away. Order. Don't get carried away and cast aspersions. Just fix your motion.
I withdraw, honorable members. I withdraw and apologize to the House. I withdraw and apologize. Thank you. And the honorable members, I beg to reply. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable Members. Order. Order, Honorable Members. Before I put the question, order. Before I put the question, you know this is a motion that has constitutional guidance at the threshold of the vote. So once I put the question, we'll not have a voice vote. We'll proceed to ring the bell, and I direct that the bell will ring for 5 minutes. Once we close the ringing, we draw the bars, and I did direct you earlier on that we must save the House's time by voting electronically. I hope you have your gadgets working. Order, honorable members. Now I'll put the question, and you have your order paper. I will not read the particularized charges. I'll only read the main charges. That pursuant to the provisions of Article 152.6 of the Constitution and Standing Order 64.1a and 66, this House resolves that the President dismisses the Honorable Franklin Linturis from the Office of Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development on the following grounds. Order. Order. 1. Gross violation of the Constitution. Gross violation of Article 46 of the Constitution. Gross violation of Article 73 of the Constitution. Gross violation of Article 201 of the Constitution. Gross violation of Article 232 of the Constitution. Serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law. 8. Serious reasons for believing the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under Sections 100, and 101 of the Penal Code, Cap 63, serious reasons for believing the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under sections 353 and 355 of the Penal Code, Cap 63, gross misconduct, which is that the Minister has failed to exercise public trust in the best interest of the people of Kenya, and this amounts to gross misconduct, contrary to Section 8, the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C, has failed in the performance of his duties to the best of his ability to carry out the duties of the office efficiently and honestly, and to carry out the duties in a transparent and accountable manner, and this amounts to gross misconduct under Section 10A and B of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C, has failed to demonstrate professionalism in carrying out duties of the office in a manner that maintains public confidence in the integrity of the office, and this amounts to gross misconduct contrary to Section 11A of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C, misled the public by submitting false information to the Experimental Committee of the National Assembly that GPC Diatomaceous was distributed as a soil conditioner and not as a fertilizer, and this amounts to gross misconduct under Section 29 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. Will you now, Sergeant, ring the bell for 5 minutes?
The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Dr. Moses Wetangula, currently presiding over the business of the House, where the House was just a few minutes ago considering the special motion brought to the House by Honorable Member for Bumula, Honorable Jack Wamboka. The special motion pertains the dismissal of Honorable Mithika Linturi as a Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Livestock and Development. And the Speaker has just directed the Sergeant at Arms to ring the quorum bell for 5 minutes, after which members will be voting in regards to whether the House will be forming a special select committee to consider the matter. This is a motion that has elicited mixed reactions from members this morning. Some in support of the motion, saying the buck stops with the Cabinet Secretary and that it's need for the country and for the Parliament to protect the country's food basket and the farmers at large. Members against the motion are saying that they are responsible entities that are charged with the responsibilities of procuring fertilizers for farmers, and therefore the Cabinet Secretary is not the accounting authority in regards to this particular docket. These are interesting perspectives that came from the chamber this morning, and we'll be awaiting to see how the members will be voting. This will be an electronic vote that members will be undertaking in a few minutes, say the next 2 minutes or so, to determine whether the House will be proceeding to form an 11-member committee to investigate the charges leveled against Franklin Mithika Linturi, the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock. In the motion by the member for Bumula, the member has listed a couple of grounds for removal, among them a gross violation of the Constitution. In the motion, the member states that the minister committed gross violation of the constitution provision by not undertaking, among others, public participation with leaders, stakeholders, or even departments within the ministry in the implementation of far-reaching policy decisions on matters to do with the procurement and distribution of fertilizer. And according to the honourable member, this action by the Cabinet Secretary violated the provisions of the Constitution on national values and principles of good governance, as required by one who is holding a state office. The member for Bumula, who is the mover of this motion, also says in this motion that the Cabinet Secretary committed gross violation of the Constitution by approving procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by the National Cereals and Produce Board. This, he says, is a gross violation of our national values and principles of good governance, so as far as he acted as a state officer to make as well as implement a public policy and approve the procurement as well as distribution of fertilizers. And this is contrary to Article 10, subsection 1B of the Constitution.
Take your seats, members. Order. Take your seats. Order, honorable members. Order. Take your seats. Order. Order, members. Member for Kericho, take your seat. Order, members, take your seats. Honorable Bashir, take your seat. Order. Order, honorable members. Take your seats and keep your silence. Order, honorable members. Take your seats. If you read your standing orders, when a vote is called, no member is allowed to move about the chamber. You must be in your seats. Member for Marakwet, is it? Who is this member on the feet? That is Yagon. Take your seat. Member for Bometis, take your seat. Baba Wino, take your seat. Members, in your induction, I'm sure you remember you are told during voting time, no member is allowed to walk about the chamber. Members must maintain silence until we have finished the vote and the results of the vote announced. I'll now direct the clerk to test the gadgets for electronic voting. After they confirm that we're okay with that, then you'll be advised to log in. Can we now have the bars drawn? Any member who is out once you draw the bar will not be allowed in. Doors locked. Excellent. Clerk, are the gadgets working? Maintain your silence for 1 minute as they test the gadgets. Okay, members, log in.
Yes. Kwa salama sana ikawa.
Members log in.
5,000. Yes, then
Oh, no, Kibageti, what are you doing in the aisle? Take your seat, I'll give you an opportunity. Members, have you logged in? Okay, now that was a trial run. Now, remove your cards. Log in. There are 3 votes, yes, no, and abstention. Members, you may now proceed to vote. Hold on. Honorable members, can you pull your gadgets again? When you log in, you hold for 60 seconds. Then the equipment will be automatically activated for you to vote. So once you log in, you wait to be told to vote. Okay, log in now. Okay, you can now vote. Not yet.